Now, when it comes to parachuting in, essentially what you want to do is never go for a hot drop. So never parachute directly into a town or anywhere like that. It has the best loot, but don't parachute in there because that's where the most people are going to be. I wouldn't parachute in anywhere that's really small too, like out in the countryside. What I would do is aim for a road. So here I aimed for a crossroads where I knew it would be really easy to find a car. So when you find the car, essentially what you want to do is you want to look where the plane was, where people could possibly parachute in from the plane, and go to a spot where they could never reach. The plane was right there. They would never be able to reach that. They would also never be able to reach that. So that is where I'm going to drive my car all the way over where there's no one at. And I get to loot this place all to myself. Look at that. Free guns, free M16, free SCAR. It's great. Now this is very important. When it comes to looting, you should always press tab to open up your inventory and drag them over with the mouse. You should never use F to pick things up. Because if you use F, watch, it does an animation. Now, if I drag, I don't have enough space. It doesn't use an animation. So it's much faster. So if I just, boom, I just pick that up. It's that fast. Now where I press F, it's pretty fast, but not fast enough. Especially when there's multiple things on the ground and I want to pick up something specific. Okay, so when looting also, you want to, let me close this door. You want to drag in from the bottom first, because if you drag in from the top, you get a little bit of lag. So if I do it right here, sometimes it can work out pretty fast, like there it worked out, but every now and again, you get a little bit of a lag spike, which causes it to not drag in as quickly as it should. So always do it from the bottom first. And there's always that consistency. So these are two important tips for when you're looting someone's dead body. You can actually right click and that would be quicker to when you're looting someone's dead body. But for me, I drag it in just because I want to get used to dragging in stuff more. But also, if you look at my person, I'm actually walking back and forth. Now that does two things. It makes me ready for action if someone's going to shoot me, and it also makes it harder to hit me. Someone would not be able to headshot me very easily. So I recommend doing that when you're looting someone's body. Okay, now this is a tip for if you parachute in next to someone else, like I did with my brother here. This is actually a mild drop, but it's not a hot drop, but it still worked. So my brother yells, fight club, because he wants to punch him to death. And I said, no, gun club, because that is the correct way to do it. If you parachute in next to someone, sprint around until you find a gun. Whoever finds a gun first basically is going to win this. And when you loot it, don't loot it like I just did there. Loot it by dragging it over, because that's the quickest way. Now look, I found a gun, he found a crowbar. And look who easily won. Like, it wasn't even close. Now, even if they're chasing you, you should still look for a gun. Now, because whoever finds a gun will win. As long as you loot it the way I taught you earlier, you will be able to kill him. When it comes to playing the circle, there's a couple different methods. One is doing what this guy's doing right here. So, as you can see, he's standing on the edge of the circle, the white circle, waiting for people to come across the bridge so he can shoot them as they come. Now, this tactic is especially useful when they are over, like when it's right next to the bridge, because it'll just be a straight line and they'll be pretty easy to shoot. It also works when you're on like the edge of the circle in a house and you're just looking out towards where the blue circle is going to be shrinking in, so you can pick off people as they come. But this isn't necessarily the way that I play. I play a slightly different method, whereas when I play, I actually I play the edge of the circle. So now, as you can see, this is what I do when I work the circle, essentially. I run in towards the circle, and then I run along the edge of the white circle, and I look inward towards the white circle, the center of it, and I look outward towards the closing blue circle. And I also look forward to pick off people as they're standing on the edge of the circle, looking outward or inward. This generally is the best way to stay mobile, as well as just knowing where people could possibly be. They're most likely to be on the edge of the white circle. So hopefully you'll see them before they see you by running around like this. Now, one could say that going to the middle of the circle can get you very far. Just go to the middle of the circle and sit down. But I personally, this is very true, but personally I don't like to play this way, because I find most enjoyment in the game by running and gunning and shooting people. So certainly, if you just sit there in the middle of the circle and not engage anyone, you can get to the top 10 very easily. But I don't find that very fun. If you want to win, though, that's the best way to do it. Now, when it comes to the final circle, playing the edge is the most important thing in my opinion. So run along the edge of the circle, because and use solid cover like trees. Oh, because I got shot back here. I was like, oh, where'd he come from? Oh, he's in a bush. Well, I mean, I have solid cover and you don't, so that means I'm going to win that fight 9 times out of 10. And also, don't be loud. Only take the shot if you know you're going to hit it. Only really shoot if you know you have a kill. Like right there, saw a guy, lined up the shot, sniped him. Attracting attention to yourself can be the worst way to lose. Because if you shoot, then everybody else in the circle knows where you're at. Okay, so one of the most important aspects of this game is the fact that you can lean using Q and E, which is right next to W. Now, the reason this is so important is because when you're looking down the scope, you can lean out like that, and it'll actually make you a lot, like the only thing he'll be able to see if he's at that tree is my head. That's it. Now, if I'm like this, obviously he can see my entire body. So using lean is very important. However, when you're using lean, make sure that you're a couple steps back, because if I'm right next to it and I zoom in, this is what happens. I can't do anything because my gun is down. You can actually shoot like this, but as you can see, I'm shooting the ground. I'm shooting myself in the foot. Now, if I'm back a little bit from the cover, when I lean, it will actually be correct. So make sure you're a little bit away from cover when you're leaning, because look at this. That ain't gonna work. A little bit farther away, and then it'll work. Another thing that people might not realize with lean is that you can use it to look around corners really easily if you combine it with right click, holding right click. So look, if I press lean right here, I can see a little bit more, but if I press right click as well, look how much more I can see. I can see all of the shadow of that tree I was looking at. Boom, there's the tree. Can't see the tree? So that's combining lean with right click. Doesn't work as well on the right side, but on the left side specifically, it works very well. So when it comes to parachuting in, there's a couple things that you should actually really know. 2 things specifically. One is how to parachute down the quickest, and the other is how to parachute far. So the first I'll do is parachute the quickest, because it's kind of a glitch. So what you want to do is, as soon as it lets me parachute, you aim straight down whenever you need to. It doesn't really matter, like I can go out a little bit and then aim straight down. Just, it's very important that you get to 234 kilometers an hour, because once you get to that, you see this arrow on the left, bottom left there. As soon as that reaches the top of the white bar, I'm going to let go of W and then push it again like that, and that causes my parachute to glitch out and go halfway down the white bar. Now, normally it doesn't do that if you don't do that letting go of W and then pushing it again at top speed. So the second important thing about parachuting in is that you can get quite a bit of distance, a lot more than people realize. Generally, it's about 2 squares of distance that you can get going at like max speed, or minimal speed rather, but without parachuting early. But we're going to try and go a little bit farther. We're going to go, I don't know, let's maybe Gatka, or we could go for this trench. Let's go for that trench. That irrigation trench. Where is it? Over there. So if you're looking outward as far as you can, the minimal speed you can go while dropping is 126 kilometers an hour. Now I'm holding Alt to look around. Now I'm going to have to parachute a little bit early, probably right around now. Now, in order to get the most distance, the most bang for your buck, you don't hold down W the entire time. What you do is you hover around 45 kilometers an hour. If you hover around that by pressing W and letting go of W, that will get you the most distance for your buck. Like 45 to 40 kilometers an hour. Now, as you can see, we made it pretty dang far. From all the way over there somewhere. We parachuted all the way to this irrigation system. Okay, so I do have a couple tips for cars as well. One is that you can use control and the numbers to switch between seats. So control 2, control 1. That'll switch you between seats. And then another couple tips for it is that the car itself is very loud. So you should only really use cars when absolutely necessary. And when you're going to a city, like in a car, you should like go like this and stop here on the edge of the city and then walk the rest of the way in, because if you do what I'm about to do right now, people will hear you. And you're actually pretty easy to hit when you're in a car because your person is very static. So all they have to do is line up a shot, really, and they're going to get a hit. And then another tip for cars that people might not realize, this is mostly for squad gameplay and sometimes duos. If you see someone in a car driving by, honestly, if you just go to full auto with your guns and just light the car up as much as possible, that will blow it up. Like, cars blow up very easily, a lot easier than people think. And I've seen so many quad kills just from a squad lighting up a car. It only really works in singles when you have a M249 though. The M249 destroys cars. And those are my tips on cars pretty much. The last tip that I can give would be patience. This is super important. This wins games. Knowing when to shoot can be really hard, but when the time is right, you get a feeling, and you just have to trust your gut at that point. But remember, not shooting can easily be the correct call in a lot of situations. And also, let the circle weed out those annoying campers, man. If you all enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing for more Pubg content. I really enjoyed making this video, and I really hope that it actually helps some people out. I mostly do Brawlhalla stuff, but I want to do more Pubg stuff and more FPS stuff. But above all, have a great day, everyone.